Whenever we think that the driver market is just going to settle down and let us rest, it shocks us back into life with end-of-season exits that once again shuffle the pack. The drivers seem to be taking a page out of the FIA's playbook here, as a driver is just departed before the eve of the final race weekend. But it's not quite as straightforward as a driver leaving, as it appears that a deal with the devil is on the cards, with it appearing on the surface that it benefits all parties, yet we can't help but feel that we are witnessing a dark arts masterclass. And while one man leaves his team, another man faces rejection from the last bastion that could have given him a well-deserved and hard-fought home for the 2025 season. But could this actually work in his favor, because the situation he has just been saved from is set to collapse at any second? Want to know why Esteban Ocon's exit could be a masterstroke by Flavio Briatore? We don't like singing the crook's praises, but we think he may well have hit this one out of the park. And stick around, because Sergio Perez's stubbornness may well have just saved Franco Colapinto from a world of pain. So Esteban Ocon and Alpine have parted ways just one race prior to the end of the season. A disappointing first corner exit at the Losail circuit, which in all fairness he was not at fault for, is the last memory Ocon will make with the Aston team. Having been usurped as the #1 driver by fellow Frenchman Pierre Gasly, the agreement struck between Ocon and his new team, Haas, was struck at a time of great controversy for the driver. It may feel like a lifetime ago, but the Monaco Grand Prix served as the toppling moment for a surprisingly well-upheld house of cards. It was well known when both drivers were penned to drive together that there was bad blood, a history stretching back to the karting days where the once friends grew to despise each other. But beyond that, Esteban Ocon has never had it in him to play nice with his teammates. The years of baffling teammate collisions finally saw the consequences that it should have seen ages before, with it being considered that Ocon wouldn't even make it to the Canadian Grand Prix following his Monaco shunt with teammate Pierre Gasly. However, Ocon endured and continued with the team, penning a contract with Haas, a team with a decent rhythm this year and losing its own crash-happy ball of anger in Kevin Magnussen, making Ocon a logical replacement. However, it would appear that the dropping hasn't been done as a snipe from the driver as one final screw you to the team that he likely feels has abandoned him, and it's not a final middle finger from the team looking to clean house, as according to Ted Kravitz, it was a deal struck that is set to benefit all parties involved. I can confirm now that things have ended completely for Esteban Ocon in terms of him being an Alpine driver. This isn't an immediate sacking or anything like this is a plea bargain. I understand the situation from the team as Ocon was very keen to do the test, the post-season test on the Tuesday after the Abu Dhabi Grand Prix for his new team, Haas, and he went to Flavio Briatore, the man who makes the decisions at Alpine, and he said, "Flavio, can I do the test?" And Flavio was like, "What's in it for me?" It seems that they have reached a deal, maybe influenced by what has happened at the first corner, maybe not. And Flavio's deal is you can do the test for Haas if you don't race in Abu Dhabi for Alpine, because I would like to give Doohan a running start at next year's Alpine employment. That is the deal that has been struck. So Doohan gets in before next season. Ocon gets his post-season test to settle in with his new team. Winners all round, right? Well, if you actually think about this for a second, this is all a bit weird. Both Haas and Alpine are in a fever-pitch fight with RB for 6th in the Constructors, and following a dismal weekend for the Red Bull sister team, it would now appear that it's a two-horse race, outside of a massive result for Tsunoda and Lawson. Alpine have a 5-point gap, and in a year where Haas has achieved many Q3 placements as high as 4th, it would appear that they are willing to play fast and loose with that lead. A difference of £13 million is to be had between 6th and 8th, and bringing in a rookie driver over the vastly experienced race winner in Esteban Ocon is a massively damning indictment. Alpine are basically saying, we are better off fighting with one arm behind our back by using this weekend as a testbed for Doohan rather than having Esteban at the team. In all likelihood, Alpine have seen his eagerness to get into bed with the new team as a slight against them and all investment that they have put into the French driver. Jack Doohan, due to his gap year, leaving F2 without winning and focusing solely on being the reserve driver and test driver for Alpine, is an entirely unknown entity. He comes in with a lack of race day experience while also being a long-term servant to the Aston team, meaning that, theoretically, while inexperienced in his racecraft, his long-term relationship with the team and race day spectating should give him a good head start in terms of getting to grips with the race weekend. The dismissal of Ocon and the early entrance of Doohan says two things from Alpine's perspective. One being that they don't take Ocon seriously as a driver capable of scoring any points in Abu Dhabi, as they would rather give next year's driver a head start, even if that results in a pointless finish, and the other is that they don't take Haas seriously as a credible threat for 6th in the championship. which is certainly something that may come back to bite them. Nico Hülkenberg has been one of the standout drivers of the year, and Kevin Magnussen on his day is an electric driver, and God help any Alpine that is stuck outside the points behind the rear wing of the Danes Haas. While Alpine have certainly turned a corner, a vast amount of luck needed to happen to put them in contention for 6th, with that double podium in Brazil being equal parts luck and the skill to make the most of it. The arrogance to think that they can fight at either a disadvantage or that they can come out of this with 6th in the bag regardless of said disadvantage is the kind of thing we would expect to see blow up in the Enstone team's face, much like their engines. One man who appears impervious to getting what he deserves is Sergio Perez, who, while running okay in Qatar, managed to continue his poor record, being cemented down in 8th, having scored just 1 point in 4 races, marking his worst run of form in a terrible season. It's not like this is the first time we've seen the Mexican driver's form take a nosedive, but this season-long dip is by far the worst that we have seen from him, finishing in 8th when your teammate finishes 1st in the Drivers' Championship, losing your team 1st and 2nd in the Constructors, costing the factory workers a bonus, and all the while being wrapped in enough cotton wool to bleed the shepherding industry dry of all stock is about as bad as it could possibly get from a driver in a front-running team. Daniel Ricciardo was recently revealed to have been pampered in a similar way, shielded from consequences and preventing nature from taking its course by Christian Horner, and according to Horner, he will not stop doing so for Perez anytime soon, as he said, "Look, Checo has had a very tough year. Obviously, the points table are what they are. We're very much focused on really supporting him to the checkered flag in Abu Dhabi. Obviously, it's not an enjoyable situation for Checo, being in this position with speculation every week. He's old enough and wise enough to know what the situation is, and yeah, let's see where we are after Abu Dhabi. I'm going to let Checo come to his own conclusions. Nobody's forcing him one way or another. I'm going to let him. It's not a nice situation for him to obviously be in. So we will not push him, it's up to him to jump, is the long and short of it, which is yet another spineless and cowardly move from the Red Bull leadership. It was revealed this week that Franco Colapinto has been rebuffed by Red Bull, which, while I'm sure the Argentine would have loved to be on the grid in any capacity next year, is possibly the best thing that could have happened to him. Entering into a charnel house where money is clearly being prized over all else is hardly the place that Franco Colapinto should be looking to lay down his roots. And a year on the sidelines to iron out some of the kinks and crash happiness of a young driver brimming with talent, especially with an 11th constructor set to enter in 2026, is possibly the best place that he can be in right now. The F2 Championship is coming down to the wire, and Isaac Hadjar, a Red Bull junior, is well in for winning it all, adding yet another hound to the Red Bull pit. However, it would seem that it all rests on Sergio Perez as to whether Hadjar would be let loose on the track next season. One thing is for sure, deciding who takes a step up to the main team between Yuki Tsunoda and Liam Lawson will likely cause mass hysteria back at the boardroom in Milton Keynes. Thank you for watching.